what I found on my journey, I'll tell you a story. So about 7 years ago, I was standing in my kitchen, and I think we go through these patterns and these seasons of change in our life. And the most important thing is that we don't resist it so that we can actually come out on the other side with a more aligned and authentic version of who we really are. And I do feel like I love this question because it's so simple and it's also very deep, right? A discovery. We're always discovering new layers. So bring it back to about 7 years ago. I was standing in my kitchen and I was putting my fingers through my hair as I always do. And at this point in my life, I had really long hair that went down to my hips, and I grew up with two older brothers. So it was the thing that made me the girl of the family, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
right?
That's commitment to have it go down to your hips.
I know, right? And so I'm putting my fingers through my hair and I'm like, something feels off here. So I grab my phone, I race to the bathroom, I put on camera mode, and I start angling at the back of my head, trying to figure out what is going on at the back of my head with the camera. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a bald spot. And it was this big. So a couple inches circular right on the top back corner of my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did this happen? How do I fix it? Clearly the universe is trying to tell me something. So I go sit down in my kitchen again, just to ground for a moment. And that's when I hear this voice come out of me and say, if you don't listen to your soul, you're going to manifest cancer and die in the next year. And I was like, I've never, like, whoa, where is this coming from? And then I have a flashback to 5 years prior, the only time in my life I had ever heard this voice speak. And I had roses in my hands. I had friends and family on both sides of me. I was wearing my wedding dress and I was walking down the aisle, excited to marry the man that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And moments before getting to him, this same voice says, this just isn't going to work.
As you're walking down the aisle?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I had never heard this voice before. So I was like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm excited. Like, I shoved it down because I didn't know how to listen. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I didn't think it was telling me anything that was important to me. I was like, this isn't right. Like, go away. I don't want to deal with you. So now I'm sitting at my kitchen table 5 years after that moment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 4 different autoimmune diseases that the doctors can help me with. I have chronic pain in my neck and shoulders to the point where my massage therapist actually fired me. I didn't know they could do that, but she's just like,
I was gonna say, what did you do? Was it because you were too hard to massage? Right?
She's like, I can't help you. She's like, I can't help you anymore, right? So I'm like, okay, so my massage therapist let me go. I have 4 different autoimmune diseases. I'm depressed and I can't stand being around my husband because he's always talking down to me and I feel like contracted. I feel stuck. And I'm having this moment of like, oh my gosh. Could it be that this entire time, since that moment I walked down the aisle and I didn't listen to my intuition, my soul, that voice, could it be that this entire time my soul has been talking to me and it's just been getting louder and louder through symptoms? So I knew that in that moment, if I didn't listen, if I didn't change my life, I wasn't going to be around for another year, which brought me down this path of studying with shamans, of studying the soul. And also within just 3 months, I healed myself of 3 of the 4 autoimmune diseases. My depression went away. My chronic pain went away. Everything went away except for one autoimmune disease that pops up when I'm not listening to my body. And
fascinating.
So what brought me on this path and connected to like, who am I, right? Was your original question is, first I had to really get clear on the messages of my body and how my soul was communicating to me. And I had to get really honest with myself and say, wow, this life that I created actually isn't based on who I truly am. It's based on who I thought I should be. So I had to get really good first at eliminating everything that wasn't me and, getting out of that mentally and emotionally abusive 8-year relationship and so many other things in order to discover who I am. So, and this is a lot of what I teach today is the soul, but who are we and stepping into who we are. And it really comes down to what is not you. And that's the most simplest place to start. Like what doesn't feel good and removing those pieces. And that starts to create space for what is true.